All right, so we're diving into something pretty interesting today, prepping for a Procurement Department Manager interview.
Yeah, and what's great is we've got some awesome resources from RoleCatcher, you know, career guides, sample interview questions, all that good stuff.
So, like, if you're thinking about going for one of these jobs, this
Exactly.
is the place to be.
This is it. This is your cheat sheet.
Yeah, this is like your
Uh,
secret weapon to get ready.
Absolutely.
And, one thing that's been interesting to me is that procurement, it, it feels like it's becoming more and more strategic. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
it's not just about like getting the lowest price anymore, right?
Right. It's really a lot more than just kind of like, you know, crunching numbers and finding a good deal. It's about understanding how those sourcing decisions that you make impact the entire organization.
So how does that translate, like for someone who's walking into an interview for this kind of role, like what kinds of questions should they be ready for?
Well, you're going to want to be ready to show that you can think beyond just like the bottom line, saving a few bucks here and there. They'll probably ask about your experience with things like sustainable sourcing, risk management, and supplier relationship
So
management.
not just like, did you get the best deal, but did you get it the right way?
Yeah, basically, exactly. And that's where role catchers resources can really come in handy, like their career guide. It digs deep into all of these trends that are changing the field and how to really present yourself as an expert in these areas.
Okay, so let's get down to it. Let's say an interviewer hits you with this question. Can you tell us about your experience with sourcing and negotiating contracts? Like, where do you even begin with that?
Right. Well, this is really your time to shine, right? Don't just like list off every single contract you've ever handled. What you want to do is focus on the skills that you were using. Did you identify cost saving opportunities, or were you able to negotiate really good terms, or did you use any kind of innovative sourcing strategy?
So instead of saying like, oh, I negotiated a contract for office supplies,
Mm.
it's more like, oh, I implemented this whole strategy for strategic sourcing, and it reduced our office supply costs by 15%, but we still used ethical sourcing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now you're really showing the impact that you had and also that you get the values of the organization.
And I feel like there's probably a follow-up question coming like, what were some of the challenges you faced in that negotiation, and how did you overcome them?
Right. Almost guaranteed. And this is your chance to show off, your resilience, how you solve problems.
Troubleshooting.
Exactly. Maybe you had stakeholders that weren't on board. Maybe there was a supplier that was really difficult or, market prices went crazy. Share a specific story and lay it all out. What steps did you take to handle the challenge and then tell them about the positive outcome?
Okay, so we've done sourcing, negotiating contracts.
Mhm.
What else? What other kind of tricky questions could they throw at you?
Well, procurement is all about risk, right? Managing risk.
Hmm.
So a very common question is, how do you identify and mitigate potential risks in the supply chain?
Okay, so this sounds intimidating. What are we even talking about here?
Okay. Think about things like supply disruptions, or quality issues or ethical violations or like even just like geopolitical instability. Interviewers, they want to see that you're proactive, that you can identify these risks before they become a problem, and then that you have strategies in place to, deal with
So
them.
I shouldn't just be like, I hope for the best.
No, definitely not. Um, Share some examples of how you've done risk assessments in the past, or put those strategies into place. Or maybe you had to come up with a contingency plan when something unexpected happened. Maybe you made sure you had a few different suppliers so you weren't relying on just one, or you put in place stricter quality control measures.
This is where having those specific examples is clutch, right? Instead of just talking about risk management, I can say, we had this potential supply chain issue because of political unrest in a key region.
Mhm.
So I got ahead of it, found some alternative suppliers, negotiated some backup contracts, and we adjusted our inventory to make sure everything kept running smoothly.
Now you're getting it. You're coming across as a proactive and strategic leader, someone who can handle complex situations.
This is making me think about the role itself. It's not just about, pushing paper and sending emails. It's leadership strategic thinking.
That's it. And that leads us to the next question. How do you manage and develop your procurement team?
So now we're getting into the people management side of
That's
things.
exact.
What are interviewers looking for here?
They want to see if you can motivate people, inspire them to do good work, create a good team environment and develop individual talent.
So I shouldn't just be like, I tell them what to do and they do it.
No, not at all. Share what your approach is to things like setting expectations, providing feedback, and recognizing achievements. Talk about maybe the mentorship program you've run or professional development opportunities you've encouraged your team to take advantage of.
So I could be like, I really like to empower people to own their work. I do regular one-on-ones to talk about career goals, give feedback, and identify areas where they can grow. I also encourage everyone to go to industry events and get certifications.
That's a great example. You're showing them your leadership style and how committed you are to your team's growth.
Okay, let's keep this train rolling. What about this one? Imagine you discover a potential compliance issue with a supplier. How would you handle this situation? That sounds like a tough one.
Yeah, you're right. Ethics and compliance are a big deal in procurement. The interviewer is trying to figure out if you understand how important ethical sourcing and legal compliance are, and that you're ready to take action if you see a problem.
So it's not just about the best deal, it's about doing things the right way.
Exactly.
But what if you're in a situation where, a supplier is cutting corners or doing something shady?
Yeah.
That's got to be a hard call.
Yeah, it can be, but you got to show them you've got a process for this kind of thing. First, you verify the issue, right? Gather the evidence, document everything. Then you escalate it to the right people in your organization. Maybe legal, maybe compliance.
And I bet it's super important to stay professional and objective, even if it's with a supplier you have a good relationship with.
Oh, absolutely. You have to show them that doing the right thing comes first. And don't be afraid to share a story about how you handled a similar situation. Maybe you had to end a contract because of ethical problems, or maybe you worked with a supplier to fix some compliance gaps.
Okay, I'm really getting a feel for the responsibility and integrity you need for this kind of role. It's not messing around.
It's not, but it's also a very rewarding career path. You have the chance to make a real difference. And with the right prep and mindset, you can totally ace this interview and land that dream job.
Okay, that is some seriously good advice. I think our listeners are going to be feeling a lot more prepared for those interviews.
I hope so.
Before we go, though, I do want to touch on something else that I think
Okay.
is super important, and that's mindset. You can know everything there is to know about procurement, but if you don't project confidence and enthusiasm, it won't matter.
So true. It's
Yeah.
all about how you present yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how can someone cultivate that, that winning attitude going into an interview?
Well, first off, remember they invited you for a reason. They saw something in your resume and experience that fits what they're looking for, right? It's easy to get caught up in self-doubt, but take a minute to think about what you've accomplished and the value you bring.
Absolutely.
Second, think of the interview as a conversation, not an interrogation. You get to share your passion for procurement, you get to show off your skills, and you get to learn more about the company and the job.
That's a much better way to think about it.
Yeah.
Instead of being nervous, I can be excited to meet some new people and learn about a new challenge.
Exactly. And third, just be yourself. Let your personality show. Authenticity is always appreciated.
I love that. So to wrap it up, preparation, strategic mindset, and a good dose of confidence are the keys to nailing that procurement department manager interview.
That's it. And remember, resources like RoleCatcher, they can really give you an edge, help you tailor your answers, practice your delivery, and feel ready to go in there and be your best.
I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Good luck with that interview. I know you're going to do great.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of procurement. Remember, preparation is everything. And with the right tools and the right mindset, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Now go out there and get that dream job.
You know, another question that can sometimes throw people off is, can you describe a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a supplier? Because conflict resolution is a really important skill for any manager, but especially in procurement where you're constantly negotiating and, managing all these relationships.
Yeah, I could see how that one could be a bit of a minefield. It's so easy to accidentally badmouth a past employer or supplier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a balancing act.
How do you navigate that?
Well, the key is to focus on the process, not the people. So just describe the situation objectively, outline the steps you took to resolve the conflict, and highlight the positive outcome you were able to achieve.
So instead of being like, ugh, that supplier was a total nightmare, it's more like we had this situation where a supplier was consistently missing delivery deadlines and it was impacting our production schedule. So I set up a meeting with them to figure out what was going on, and it turned out they were dealing with some unexpected circumstances on their end. We worked together to come up with a new delivery schedule and put a better communication plan in place so it wouldn't happen again.
Exactly. And here's a little pro tip from RoleCatcher's Guide. Quantify your results whenever you can.
Well, I like that. So I could add something like, ugh. And as a result, we were able to get back on track and avoid any production delays, which ended up saving the company X amount of dollars.
Boom. There you go. You're not just telling a story, you're showing the impact of what you did. And that's what interviewers want to see, results.
Speaking of results, let's talk about efficiency. I'm sure interviewers want to know how you keep things running smoothly and keep costs down. So how would you answer this question? How do you ensure that procurement processes are efficient and cost-effective?
This is your chance to show off your process improvement skills. Have you brought in any new systems or technologies? Streamlined any workflows? Negotiated better contracts? It's all about showing that you can think strategically and make things better.
So I could talk about how I implemented an e-procurement system that automated all our purchase orders, which saved a ton of time and reduced errors.
Perfect. And don't forget to quantify those results. Did you cut processing time by a certain percentage? Save the company a specific amount of money? Those details really make your achievement stand out.
Show, don't tell.
Exactly. And speaking of showing, RoleCatcher's AI tools can be a game changer here.
Okay, we've mentioned RoleCatcher a few times, but how does their AI actually help with interview prep?
It's pretty cool. So you upload the job description to RoleCatcher, and its AI analyzes it and figures out what skills and experience the employer is really looking for. Then it suggests specific examples from your own work history that you can use to tailor your answers to that particular job.
Wow, so it's not just generic advice. It's personalized guidance based on the actual job I'm applying for.
Exactly. It's like having a personal career coach helping you craft the perfect responses. And it gets even better. RoleCatcher also has this feature called Video Practice with AI Feedback. So you record yourself answering interview questions, and the AI analyzes your video and gives you feedback on things like your body language, your tone of voice, and how clearly you're communicating.
Wait a minute. You can tell if I'm like fidgeting or saying too much.
It can pick up on those little things that we might not even notice ourselves, and it gives you suggestions on how to improve so you come across as more confident and engaging.
That's amazing. It's like having a secret weapon to help you ace the interview. Okay, let's get back to those practice questions. This one seems really relevant to the leadership aspect of the role. Can you tell us about your experience with supplier relationship management?
This question is all about building and maintaining strong relationships with your suppliers. It's about understanding their capabilities, working together to achieve common goals, and navigating any challenges that pop up.
So it's not just about squeezing them for the lowest price. It's about building long-term win-win relationships.
Exactly. And interviewers want to see that you're strategic about how you manage those relationships.
What kind of things should I be highlighting in my answer?
Talk about how you choose suppliers, how you communicate with them, how you track their performance, and how you handle disagreements. Maybe you've used a supplier scorecard system, or you do regular business reviews, or maybe you've worked on joint process improvement projects.
Is it okay to talk about a time when a supplier relationship went south? As long as I focus on what I learned from it.
Absolutely. In fact, interviewers really appreciate it when candidates are honest about their mistakes and show that they're willing to learn and grow.
All right, I'm feeling a lot more confident about handling these tough questions.
Yeah.
But what about the curveballs, the ones that come out of left field?
That's where preparation and quick thinking come in. But even if you've prepared for everything, there's always a chance you'll get a question that throws you off guard.
Right, like one you just weren't expecting.
And that's when it helps to have a framework to fall back on something that can help you structure your thoughts. RoleCatcher's career guide talks about this method called the STAR method.
Star method.
Yeah.
Like the ones in the sky.
Haha. Not exactly, although aiming for the stars is a good attitude to have. The STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and result.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So let's say they ask you something like, tell me about a time you had to make a difficult decision with very little information. You know, a real high-pressure situation. Right, so using the STAR method, you'd start by describing the situation, the context for the decision.
Okay, so like I was facing a major supply shortage for a critical part, and I had to decide whether to switch suppliers or risk production delays.
Exactly. You've set the scene. Now you outline the task. What were you responsible for achieving?
In that case, my task was to secure a steady supply of that part while keeping costs down and minimizing risk.
Right. Next, you describe the steps you took to make the decision and put it into action.
So I could say that I did a quick assessment of other suppliers, looked at their pricing and lead times, and talked to key stakeholders before deciding.
Perfect. And now for the most important part, the result. What happened because of what you did?
I'd say something like, by quickly finding and vetting a new supplier, I was able to get the part we needed without any production delays, and that saved the company thousands of dollars in potential losses.
Nailed it. You've given them a clear, concise, and compelling answer that shows you can make tough decisions and deliver results even when things are crazy.
Okay, I'm definitely a fan of this STAR method. I'm writing that down.
It's simple, but it works. It helps you structure your answers and make sure you're hitting all the important points, and you can use it for all kinds of behavioral interview questions.
Awesome. So we've covered a ton today, from strategic sourcing to risk management, from team leadership to conflict resolution.
We have.
But before we wrap things up, I do want to touch on one more thing that I think is absolutely critical, and that is mindset.
Ah, yes. Mindset is so important. You can have all the skills in the world,
Yeah.
but if you're not confident and you don't show enthusiasm, it won't matter.
So true. It's all about how you present yourself.
Exactly. So how do you get into that right headspace before an interview? Well, first, remember, they called you in for a reason. They saw something in your resume and your experience that matches what they need.
That's a good reminder. It's easy to get caught up in your own head.
Yeah, but focus on what you've done and what you bring to the table. And second, try to see the interview as a conversation, not an interrogation. It's your chance to share your passion for this work, to show them what you can do, and to learn more about the company and the role.
That takes the pressure off, for sure. Instead of being nervous, I can be excited about the opportunity to connect with some new people and explore a new challenge.
Right. And third, just be yourself. Let your personality shine through. Authentic people are always more memorable.
Love that. So to sum it all up, preparation, a strategic mindset, and a healthy dose of confidence are the keys to rocking that procurement department manager interview.
Absolutely. And don't forget about those helpful resources like RoleCatcher. They can give you that extra boost, help you refine your answers, practice your delivery, and walk in there feeling like you've got this.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today and a lot of tools to help them succeed.
Me too.
Thanks so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.
Best of luck with that interview. You're going to be great.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of procurement. Remember, preparation is key, and with the right tools and the right mindset, you can achieve anything you set your mind to.
Yeah.
Go out there and get that dream job